Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome to episode. I'm not gonna say the number.
8? I think it's 8.
Is it 8?
I think it's 8.
Don't quote us on that because then I'm gonna have to rename everything else. So, welcome to another thrilling episode. Whoa! Oh my god! I'm trying way too hard after a long day at work. Welcome to another episode, riveting episode of Hoser Hockey Hour. Rest in peace, Butch. We can't wait to see you in the summer.
He's not dead.
I mean, he's dead to us right now.
No, he's not.
Well, no, because you still talk to him a lot, so no, he's not dead. Big day, and I'm glad we're doing the video podcast now because can you lean in a little bit? Okay. I feel like I'm just towering over you. Okay. But yeah, no, it's been an interesting day in the world of hockey. A lot of small trades, couple of okay ones, nothing really too blockbuster. You know? Or as the Amanda Show used to say, blockbuster. And tell me you watched that, the Amanda Show, back in the day.
Oh, no, I never did.
You never did?
No.
Damn. It's really sad.
We're also selling these I Am Canadian. No, we're not.
Did you get that from a box? Was it? What
no.
was it?
Funny story about this hat, kids. Okay. So, kids, the summer of 2004.
2004. Yes.
2004. I was in Florida. And they had these machines that would stitch whatever that you want on a blank hat. And my dad got Go Habs Go. Creative. And I thought, you know what would be cool is if I put I Am Canadian because I was so obsessed with that slogan.
That was a good commercial.
That was did you ever watch the Don Cherry's beer, beer, beer? Yeah, I love those ones. Anyway, so I think that was a different beer company too. So what happened was I wanted that because I was so obsessed with that slogan. And so I'm walking around Florida, strutting my stuff, and everyone that's
strutting everywhere.
Yeah, and everyone's just everyone that's looking at me is just looking with these eyes,
it's like, why are you showing off your Canadian?
Yeah,
kid?
Why are you proud of that? So,
there's not much to be proud of, but
that's not.
Well, we did. We came in third place in the Olympics, man. That's something. I can't believe that's over.
I can't believe we actually got a bronze in hockey.
That's
because
really
Canada
and
usually checks out.
And we lost curling altogether. It's just man, who gives a shit, right? Definitely me, because I actually watched curling.
I had a friend who was down there working at the Olympic Foundation, and she was posting all these photos and stuff, and it was really cool. I was jealous. I was really jealous, wishing I was. It's been a tough few weeks, folks.
Yeah. Stay tuned for our relationship episode of Mach 2. That's when you'll see our true feelings about that. But we're not doing Mach 2 yet. Shout out to we should get Tree back for Mach 2. Yeah, because he named it that. Okay. But yeah, so basically, I asked you, I'm like, why are you talking about your trip to Florida in 2004? And then you're like, that's because of your hat. Yeah,
I put it down now.
Oh, were your Bab socks and your...
no Bab socks.
Yeah, and you don't have the Vegas stuff anymore.
No, well, you know what? I want to try a different hat every week.
Oh, yes.
So if you want to see more hats...
shout out to 6 years ago and 80 more pounds. Yes.
Really? Just 80?
No, 50 pounds.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, big news. So, yeah, big news. Look, just... talk, please. I'm done.
Okay, so there was a lot of trades that were happening today and yesterday in the NHL. A few teams overpaid for players. We're gonna get into that. A few teams. Let's just say Montreal. You know what? Yeah. Good on you for getting rid of that Plekanec guy. They did pretty okay there. But we're gonna start with probably
they did pretty okay there, boys. Yeah, no.
You want to talk about McDonough or Nash?
Well, let's talk about Rick Nash first.
Okay, so Rick Nash. I mean,
because you led in with just overpriced rental players,
right? So if this was probably 7 years ago, this would probably be a blockbuster. But the fact is, it's not. We're not going to go through every trade. We're going to talk about the big trades and it's that stuff. So I'm not. What do you got? Do you
have an ad for Rogaine right now. So that's not working.
That's not what
there we go. Okay.
So Rick Nash goes for who?
First round pick Ryan Spooner, Ryan Lindgren, Matt Bolesky, and a 7th round pick in 2019.
Okay. Now you're thinking, Michael, You're right. You're always right. You're never wrong.
Never say that. I never think that at all. I give you shit for saying that. Yes.
I think this is one of the biggest.
Did you call this?
No, I didn't call this.
Okay, I'm saying that you didn't. You weren't like, guys. I knew this was going to happen like 5 years ago. Are you sure?
No.
Okay.
No. Actually, I didn't think that he would go to the Bruins. Yeah, this was another interesting thing that I saw in this trade deadline was a lot of teams were trading within their division, within their conferences. That
seemed like there were a lot.
Yeah, usually teams don't do that, which I found really surprising. This was one of them. I didn't think that New York would, trade to the Bruins. Not because they don't share
the same
it's
division.
not the same division, but it's this same conference and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But, so it is. It's a hefty price because Rick Nash, he is not the player he was 3 or 4 years ago.
We read the stats before shooting this to prove that. Yeah,
he had one good year with New York.
2012, 2013. That was the lockout one. That was 43 points.
I'm talking about the one he had 42 goals.
That was
2014.
Rick Nash.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that was a good season.
Right.
Yeah.
So he's only really had one decent year in New York. So it's not, and he's not really that much of a playoff performer. So I thought that was a little overpriced. Another overpriced trade that happened today was the Vegas Golden Knights acquiring Tomas Tatar for
it was a first round pick, a second round pick, and a third round pick.
Yeah, but in different years, so it varied. The years spread. That was also another one where I was just like,
why? Why pay that much?
Like, I don't know why teams are really there's a lot of teams that are going for it for the long haul. Vegas is definitely in. Tampa is definitely all in. Boston. The Capitals didn't really make much of a move. So
there wasn't really much to do. The Leafs, and we'll touch upon this later, but teams that seem to have a good core of players right now, it was a relatively quiet trade day because there wasn't really any major players on the trading block. Rick Nash was one that went. Erik Karlsson did not go. It was pretty much just like the only trade baity names that they kept throwing around were Evander Kane and Rick Nash, both of which were traded today.
And let's also not forget that what's his name, Derek Brassard went in a package deal to Pittsburgh.
Yeah, but that was I feel like a lot of teams are happy with the way they're set up though. Like the teams that are bad, because I was watching this interesting stat on TSN where they were showing how since 2013. The amount of draft picks that have been traded during trade deadline have gone down significantly because owners and GMs are wising up to the fact that they're not going to trade away their future for rentals that never really pay dividends.
Right. For
the most part, like a lot of players that we've seen in the last few years, these big blockbuster deals, Zach Parise and Ryan Suter going to Minnesota. And that was in the offseason, granted, but you're seeing big names go at the trade deadline, and they never really pan out.
Yeah, they don't stay. They don't resign. So it's
they'll play for a few months, and then they're hitting free agency.
Well, look at the Minnesota Wild last year. They gave up the farm for Martin Hanzal and was it Dale Weiss? No, it was Ryan White and a bunch of players that Minnesota mortgaged. And they only had a 5-game playoff run, so it's not really smart to mortgage your future and all these picks.
For players that are just for a couple months.
Yeah, because you don't know what you're going to get, right, in the playoffs. So I thought Minnesota really kind of dug themselves in a hole last year. And we're also still seeing the effects of the New York Rangers after the St. Louis deal because they gave up a lot of picks for him, and he only lasted a season and a half. So it's tough.
No, and that's why I'm seeing general managers being more conservative in who they're trading. Yeah. And what they're giving up to get these big name players. I think the asking price is starting to it's still high for certain players like Erik Karlsson, and I even heard someone throw Ovechkin around. I'm just like, don't be stupid. But the asking price for those players are really high, but those are franchise players, mind you. Yeah. But your Derek Brassard, your Evander Kane, your that mid-tier level player that you're just going to get them for like conditional draft picks and then like farm players now. Like it's not like you're trading like 2 firsts and a second for like a guy that's going to last 2 months. Like you're not seeing that happen as much.
No.
I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but not to the same frequency that it did.
The Evander Kane thing is very interesting. He's going to love California.
No, but the picks that the Sabres got were conditional if he signs with San Jose. So if he walks, then they get those picks. If he stays, then they don't. So they...
Oh, that's really crazy.
Well, no, because I let me look that up, because I was pretty sure that's what I saw the conditions were for that one.
Because you would think that they'd keep the picks if they kept Kane.
Yeah, no, because what did the... Okay, so first round pick in 2019 becomes a second round pick if Kane hits free agency.
Oh, okay.
Fourth pick becomes pushed to 2020 and will then become a third.
Wow, that's a lot of conditions.
Yeah, so the first round 20 becomes a second if he hits free agency.
Okay.
That makes more sense.
Yeah, okay. All right. So, and there's also... What also happened this year is because the Olympics happened and the NHL didn't go, a lot of Olympians that were there got signed to other teams. So we had Chris Kelly. I think he went to the Ducks. I might be wrong about that. But I know Brian Giunta, he went to the Boston Bruins.
Yeah.
The Boston Bruins. So, these... And Mike Fisher's coming back.
They resurrected him just to bring him back for one last run of the Stanley Cup. Yeah.
And you know what? They might do it. Yeah, so I'm hoping they do it. I mean, this is probably the 1 year I want Nashville to actually do something.
But you know what? It's interesting. Like the one thing I always found interesting about trade deadline stuff is it kind of rejuvenates, because as a Sabres fan for the last few years, there hasn't really been much to watch in terms of hockey. So getting to see new life brought into not just Buffalo for me, but to different teams, it just interests me in the sport again, which prior, I'm just like, why am I following hockey if my team isn't giving me anything to support?
Right.
And you're noticing that with Montreal this year, how they've really kind of dug themselves in to some... I don't understand how you go from the conference quarterfinal.
We talked about this last time.
Yeah, like it's just like, again, it's crazy, but...
Sorry, what were we going to segue to?
So we were talking about asking prices and how Kane,
okay.
And we're talking about asking prices being too high, and so that's why you saw guys like Erik Karlsson. I mean, not that he was really moving around that much, but there were rumors saying that there were people kicking tires in Ottawa for him. But
Vegas was one of them.
Yeah,
I guess we can talk about the Karlsson thing right now. I guess, seeing as we're talking about him.
Brilliant segue. See how that works?
Well, yeah. You know what? We're just doing this in front of the camera. No editing. It's completely...
Yeah, no writing. No.
They don't care. We don't care. So...
You're not going to watch this.
Karlsson. Now, I don't understand... Now, I get the media wanted... Like, TSN really wanted people to watch Trade Center.
Yeah, because no one's watching... Yeah, everyone's going to get updates on their phone now.
Exactly. So, nothing. So, I didn't think Karlsson was going to get moved today, honestly, at the trade deadline.
But they kept talking about it, though.
Well, because, again, that's the media that's doing the talking. Now, I know Vegas...
Fake news, man. Fake news.
I know Vegas was kicking the tires. That was definitely one of the teams that was interested. But a deal like Karlsson is something that you would probably do at the draft table.
Yeah.
There was also some rumblings, not today, but earlier, that Price might have been moved at the trade deadline. Well, he's injured now, so that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But something like that would be done at a draft table when there's more time, when you don't have as much pressure because they have until 3 o'clock Eastern time to
No, but you have the time in the offseason to work out something.
And really figure out where your team is based on,
not just like this is more just like for a team that's making a run that needs a couple of quick parts just to complete.
I mean, I know I said that Karlsson will probably stay in Ottawa because he loves it there, but I did not see him get moving today.
No, sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, you go.
It's just really surprising that the media was like, "Oh my God, he's staying," and it's like, well, of course.
Why are you surprised by that?
Why?
Yeah. I'd be more surprised if he actually left. Like they're making it seem like it was a done deal, and it's just like, no, guys, like it's just.
And then back to what I said last time in the last episode, Ottawa really. I mean, now Ottawa's kind of going through a crisis over there. We talked about this before the show.
Yeah.
They're not. I think it's a record lowest season ticket sales in the team's history.
Mm-hmm.
Also, they are not, and it's also I think the lowest in the team's history in terms of corporate sponsorship in Ottawa. So things are not looking good. So if you don't have Erik Karlsson on the marquee,
no, who do you got?
Who do you exactly? Right.
You're not gonna like. I'm actually kind of surprised that Bobby Ryan didn't go.
He has a huge contract. It'd be tough to move him
because I feel like he'd be like the perfect trade bait player for trade deadline if his term wasn't too much.
It's not the term. It's the year. It's the dollars. It's the dollars and the production that he has on the ice, which is not that good. He was okay. He was pretty good in the playoffs this past season, but he really did. He's really been like not. He hasn't hit his potential. Kind of like Duchesne. So
Duchesne.
So that's what you gotta think that I honestly think that Melnyk is in bigger trouble than we originally thought, which is probably why he maybe wanted to promote himself to CEO of the Senators.
Mm-hmm.
To which the hockey world was kind of laughing at that. And it's like, okay, yeah, I think someone referred to it as Mr. Burns is running the factory now, and Pierre Dorion is nothing but a Smithers.
Bobby Ryan's taking a $7,250,000 cap hit annually
until
2020. That's a lot of money.
A long time. How many points does he have
this year?
Yeah. Well, you're on cap friendly, so
yeah,
we'll find that out. So Ottawa's in a really tough situation. Today they were talking about it, and I was just like, Ottawa might get moved if this is the case. I mean, I know they have the arena deal already planned. Are they already building the arena?
They're actually not too sure if that's going to happen for sure.
Okay, so there you go. Right, so they're not doing well. They're bleeding money. So it's like, now what do you do with the Senators? They might move. I actually thought that today. The more that people were talking about it, I was like,
okay, so for So for $7,250,000 a year, you're getting 22 points so far this year
in 41 games.
Damn. Well, that sucks. but what do you do, man? Like, do you move them? Like, do you?
And Ottawa's not really in a position that they can just buy him out.
No,
it's way too much money for them to buy
Ottawa. Out. I mean, for a Canadian team, like a Canadian budget team, is still like. It's still more money than a budget team in South Florida or in Arizona, but like you don't have the money to do that.
No, and especially if they're not getting as many season ticket holders coming back,
like you're not getting the revenue from sponsorships. It's tough.
It's not looking good, Ottawa. I mean, look, hey, I would love to see you guys stay, but the reality is it might not happen.
It's not going to be like this, and this is going to take some time to work this out because I mean you need to have somewhere to move them to. You're not just going to like unless you fold the team altogether.
Well, if anything, they would just relocate them.
But yeah, like, the case. But then what's going to happen? You're going to move them to Seattle, and then you're still going to have 31 teams. And then what are you going to do? You're going to give Quebec their team back?
No, it'd be even at that point. It'd be like 16 in the East.
Like if you move, there'll still be 31 teams in the league.
But wouldn't it be...
You need to find somewhere... You find a new place to put a team.
But right...
Because if Ottawa goes to
16-15, and then it would be 16-15.
There's still... That doesn't change... That doesn't add a team. It just moves it.
It doesn't matter. I mean...
To a team that would be otherwise getting a new team.
I don't know. Just a lot of stuff I was hearing today didn't sound like Ottawa was a viable hockey market. So maybe we're just...
No, I think you're 2 hours away from Montreal at that point, which is a way bigger draw, historically speaking. And then you're in Ontario, so you're having a lot of Leafs fans coming. Like, you're still... And these are the guys that were growing up in, like, the 60s and 70s, where there weren't the Senators there. Your local team at that point was either Montreal or Toronto. So to have the team not perform well financially is tough.
Yeah.
I mean, because it seems like it'd be weird to think of a league where the Senators weren't in it, but you don't have Canada's capital with a hockey team. But there's just, if there's no...
It's happened before.
Yeah.
I mean, the Ottawa Senators were early 1900s.
Yeah, that was a while.
And then they came back in the 90s. So, I don't know. Speaking of Canadian teams and... excuse me.
And And bad turtlenecks. Yeah.
We weren't even talking about that.
Yeah.
But, Tomas Plekanec. Everyone's talking about the Leafs. Why didn't the Leafs make enough moves? There's a lot of complaining going on.
Do they have to?
And I'm going to tell you, they don't.
Ooh.
They don't, because you know what? Honestly, the East has a lot of big guns, and the Maple Leafs know, they're self-aware. They know that they're probably not going to get to the Stanley Cup final.
It'd be a Cinderella story if they did.
Yeah,
but likely not going to happen. What with Tampa Bay adding JT Miller, and we didn't even talk about that.
No, we'll get to that. But we'll just say this: Tampa Bay, Boston in the same division, making huge moves. Toronto is in no rush to go to make a cup run yet. They are using this as experience. They are using this as a learning opportunity, same as last year. Think about it. They weren't expected to go to the playoffs last year.
At all.
And they made it to 6 games in a very tight series against the Washington Capitals, who was the number 1 seed. So you don't, as a Leaf fan, you don't have to worry about the Leafs not making enough moves, because really their top 3 center positions are all lined up. You have Matthews is injured right now, but you have Matthews, Bozak, Kadri, and then you had Moore, but Moore wasn't really panning out for them. So what do? You pick up a guy who can win faceoffs. He's pretty good on the penalty kill, like I said.
And he offers, and that's the same role that Marleau plays. Like, it's a guy who's able to offer experience to the young guys. And I think, just to your point earlier, that they're going to use this as, like, I see teams like Boston and Tampa Bay with aging players like Brad Marchand, like Patrice Bergeron, like Steven Stamkos, that are slowly, they're not, like, their window of opportunity is closing. Like, this is their time to win if they're going to with these guys. So they have to do this. You can't afford to develop a team that's aging. Toronto, you have nothing but time. And you look at, if you're making the second round of the Stanley Cup Finals, that's a learning experience. Imagine how good your team's going to be in a few years when they're mature.
And here's the other thing, too, that I think that kind of weighed into the decision of the Toronto Maple Leafs brass is I think they're pretty much certain that they're going to face the Bruins in the playoffs. So in that sense, you have a guy in Plekanec who has had a lot of experience against the Bruins, who's shut down Sidney Crosby a few times in the playoffs whenever Montreal played him. So you have that as like a bit of stability in your lineup is kind of the only really, I mean, other than defense that Toronto needed. I mean, quite frankly, the big names. Did Mike Green go anywhere? I don't think he did.
I didn't see it.
So it's like a lot of like big name defensemen, and we'll get to McDonough later. They just came with too much of a price, and right now Toronto has a lot of future to hold on to. Now, the players that they gave Montreal in return, they weren't really going to crack the lineup anyway. So what happens is they will. Well, I mean, Valiev. Valiev might crack.
Yeah, and then
the Montreal
and the other guy
D line. Oh my God, what was his name? Kirby Reichel has been a huge disappointment, I have to say. So I don't see him jump into the big club this year or maybe next year. I think he's just going to meander in the AHL.
No, and which is fine.
And a second-round pick for a rental. I mean, worst comes to worst, if Plekanec plays the rest of Toronto's games in the season, he's going to be at game number 999. If Montreal is in a struggle, like if they can't sign people...
Isn't there an opportunity for him to come back?
There's always that opportunity to come back. He's been in Montreal for 15 years, really. So if you can get... The big thing that I looked at was a second-round pick for Plekanec and some other minor league guy. So that was the one where I'm like, okay, I think we win here because, usually you get your diamonds in the rough in the second round.
Well, and you know what? Just, and like you're saying, like as a Habs fan, you don't mind him going to a big rival for picks and a depth player, but like, does it bother you seeing someone who had? I know you weren't a huge fan of Plekanec, but in terms of the idea where you have a franchise player going to an arch rival,
he wasn't a franchise player, but I will say this:
or like a guy that's been around.
This was another kind of This was an interdivision trade, which I found very interesting. Mm-hmm. It's weird. I saw him in his practice jersey and clean shaven in a Toronto uniform. It's weird. It's
for a guy that's been there for such a long time.
And also, you have to think Josh Georges turned down a trade to go to Toronto Maple Leafs years ago, which is why he ended up in Buffalo because of the rivalry. So for it's really weird to see that. Montreal and Toronto don't make trades that often.
When was that? That he came with
Giunta.
When was that? Like 2015?
5 years ago?
2014?
Like it's been a while. Ago. Yeah. So that was kind of odd. So now, again, were there any big winners and losers? We'll talk about the McDonough trade. Do you think that Tampa Bay now is the beast of the East now, adding McDonough and JT Miller?
I think they definitely have positioned themselves in a really good spot. I think they've really made themselves very competitive.
Right.
JT Miller and Ryan McDonough offer, again, like they're averaging about half a point a game based on their production this year so far. But you know what? It's just you have like McDonough is a big guy, like sturdy guy, and
he's always an all-star.
Yeah, like it's just like you have a certain caliber of player that's joining your team. That's never a bad thing.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I think Tampa Bay has really given a good case for being Eastern Conference champion, man. Like I wouldn't be surprised. Like it really is a toss up between at this point in the East. If I were to say like the Final Four, I'd say probably Washington, Pittsburgh, and Tampa Bay, and Boston. Like those are the four teams that I could see going to like they move like that. Like those four, I think are the ones to give chase. Not give chase, but like they're the ones that will get the deepest, in my opinion. That's what I wouldn't be surprised seeing.
And then this is why I think Toronto shaking. I think
earthquake.
and I think this is why Toronto didn't make as many moves because McDonough went for what is that name?
Nemestikov.
Thank you. I never. Nemestikov, first round pick, conditional second, Brett Howden, and Libor Hajek. I don't know who those last two names are, but anyway.
But still, you still get a high draft pick for two otherwise good guys.
And Toronto is not in the position to do that right now. Tampa Bay's time is now. McDonough has another year left on his deal after this season, so you have to pony up a lot. And Toronto did the right thing. You know what? We got somebody, so it tells our guys, you know what? We believe in you, but not too much. We don't believe in you that much.
No, but even they need to understand this. I mean, it's too early to call it sustainable because it's only really been 2 seasons for Toronto. But if you're looking at a right direction move, then they're giving a good. They're putting on a clinic of how to tank and then how to develop again.
Yeah.
Like, having them bring in Lou Lamoriello and Brendan Shanahan have just totally changed the culture of that franchise.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's how they've been able to rebuild so
quickly
because they know what they're doing.
To be honest, there was nothing more worse than Dave Nonis and Peter Horachek. So, I mean, gotta be honest.
Can you believe that's in hockey years, that was forever ago.
I know.
But that was really just less than within the last decade.
It was not even. It was probably 3 years ago that happened. This is Mike Babcock's 3rd season behind the bench.
No, but I think I'm Dave Nonis and Randy Carlisle, 2012. Those seem like dark days. Man.
Well, no, I think Burke was still with the Leafs in 2012.
Was he? Maybe. Probably.
This is Babcock's 3rd season and Lamoriello's 3rd season with the Leafs.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think another big winner. We keep talking about the East. No, we're not really talking about the West. I think the Winnipeg people. This is probably I think Darren Dreger made a joke on TSN today. This probably might be the first time in Winnipeg's Jets history that players are excited to go to Winnipeg.
It's not for the city, no.
No, it's not for the parks.
Or how fucking cold it is, yeah.
So they get Paul Stastny from St. Louis, and then they get a depth defenseman in Joe Morrow from the Montreal Canadiens. Winnipeg might tear it up this year. It's, you know what? They
deserve it, man. They need it. They need this. That team has that city needed as soon as they came back in 2011. The city wants a champion, and you know what? They've been kind of underperforming for the last few years. So it'd be nice for Winnipeg to actually make a bit of a run. I mean, it'd be interesting to see how the West turns out. I mean, the West is kind of Nashville, Chicago, St. Louis. I'd put up there as well, just because.
Well, St. Louis is out of the playoff spot. Like, they were sellers today.
Yeah,
aren't they? Sorry, I keep scrolling here because there's a particular trade I want to talk about, but I can't seem to find it.
Yeah, but no, you know what though? It's I find the East is the conference that's getting more attention right now because the West just seems that they're too good.
And there's not that many moves from the Western teams, really. I mean, other than San Jose.
Yeah.
Right, and all that. And Evander Kane, is Evander Kane a center or a winger? Because I'm trying to figure out where he would fit on San Jose's line. Why not?
I thought he was a center, but I'm probably wrong. This is riveting video, by the way. 2 guys on their phones.
But Nashville, they're good. Like they didn't really have to make much. They signed Mike Fisher to a 1-year, $1 million contract. That was great because they didn't have to give up anything for that. They picked up Brandon Bolig was another name. Mark Letestu. They're filling out their depth. I'm sorry,
he's a left winger.
He is a left winger. Okay. Yeah. And I'm gonna shift back to the East for a little bit because the New Jersey Devils also, I think, they might be your spoilers with Patrick Maroon and Michael Grabner. So it'd be interesting to see how New Jersey does because this was a team that wasn't expected to be in the playoff hunt this year.
Yeah,
it was expected that they were going to be near the bottom like they were last season. So,
but no, like New Jersey is. I mean, they're just they won't give up. Like they're actually like they're better than average.
You think you're better than me? You think you're better than me? I'm from New Jersey. Calgary didn't get a Ginla. I don't know where all these reports were saying that. So
is he just done now?
You know what?
Should he just call it quits? Like, or go off to fuck off Czech Republic? Like,
I don't know what happened with that. I was kind of surprised that if it was true that that Calgary would even entertain signing a Ginla because they signed Yager and it hasn't really panned out for them.
I feel like the next move that Yager should sign a 1-day contract with Calgary and then retire because you know what? What interest are you getting? You're getting old now. Just what's the cliche? A lot of people say I just want to spend time with my families or whatever bullshit.
Does he have a family?
Yeah, he does.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I think so. Like,
did he have sex with an 18-year-old?
Did he?
Yeah.
Yo. Hashtag me too.
Oh my god.
But no, that was in bad taste. I apologize.
Oh my
god. No. Why would they have signed him back? Like he's.
I also think,
like you said, just with the Iginla thing, it didn't work
out. Also with the Iginla thing is, look, I think the Iginla chapter in Calgary was like closed when he got traded. So why bring him back with and Calgary? They have a lot of young guys. I don't know how he would have fit there, and I don't know if there were other teams that were interested in him. Well, clearly not because he would have signed with them.
Yeah, no, it just seemed like that would have been like a nice thing for Flames fans to be like, oh, we got Iginla back, but it's just like no, that's not gonna happen.
But it's interesting that the Ducks are now, the Ducks got Jason Chimera from the New York Islanders. They're a team that, I don't know, you can go either way. Chicago was a seller.
Which is crazy to think about.
Didn't think we'd be hearing that so soon, would we? But I guess, you know what? After 3 cups in 6 years, you got to do it.
You kind of plateaued.
You kind of, like, it's kind of...
Right now, you got to change something, otherwise it's
just... And all these closeted Chicago... Not closeted, well, now they're in the closet, but all these Chicago fans that were apparently everywhere... And we're fans from
day one.
From day one, you don't see them very much anymore.
Gee, I wonder why, man.
I don't know. So
well, this is only one season. Who knows how they'll do?
True, but so the big winners, I think, and definitely would be Tampa.
Yeah, I would say Tampa Bay for sure. I'd say I'd say Toronto. Just based on that, like, well, not really a winner. Like they did well. Yeah. I would say a loser would be Boston. Paying way too much for Rick Nash. I would say
not the biggest playoff performer either.
No. And like everything else was just kind of mellow. Like it wasn't really like anything really like stand outish. Like I'd say Boston was probably the one team that you're kind of thinking like, why would they give up so much for a guy like you said doesn't perform that well in the playoffs? It's a rental for a few months. Like, just kind of... It seems like a waste.
Boston would look good on paper, but I think it might be another Minnesota situation from last year.
Yeah.
And if they go up against the Leafs, That's going to be an interesting.
Toronto actually might have a chance. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you know what? All these teams have a chance. Like the parity, the parity is like just crazy in the league right now that anyone can really get in. I definitely would say, yeah, I would agree. Tampa Bay is the big winner. Boston is. Hopefully it works out. Well, no, because I don't like Boston. But they might have bit off way more than they could chew with the deals that they made. Yeah. Now, where does Brian Giunta fit in that lineup? I don't know. So, but if Nash does play alongside David Krejci usually does make players better.
Yeah, but then again, it's still like
But a lot of the big name defensemen did not get moved. So Mike Green didn't get moved. Carlson didn't get moved. I thought Green might have gone because where else is he going to go?
Yeah.
Right? Like, I don't think he's going to stay in Detroit. So, in terms of the West, again, Vegas overpaid for Tatar.
Yeah. Three picks for a guy that's already kind of regressing a little bit. Yeah, no, that's a little bit too much for sure. But I guess Vegas can afford to do so with just the stockpile of draft picks that they have at this point is ridiculous.
Yeah, that's true. They had a lot of picks to just dish out.
No, but I think a lot of teams were conservative this year. I think a lot of teams liked what was already on the ice already. They didn't feel like they needed to make major upgrades. And the teams that felt they wanted to make a really deep Stanley Cup run made bigger moves. But most teams, I thought, were just kind of playing it safe because they were like...
And you also don't want to, like in Nashville's case, you don't want to, and Vegas' case too, you don't want to mess up the
chemistry.
The chemistry.
Yeah, it's working right now. You throw in what could otherwise be, like you said, on paper, a good player. Like I look at R.A. Dickey coming to Toronto in 2013, the guy that just came off the Cy Young Award, touted to be one of a great pitcher, like your go-to ace. And then what happens? His knuckleball completely slowed down. But again, a guy who looks good on paper joins a team. Again, perfect slam dunk situation. But then he gets there and it just throws everything off.
It's also, I don't know if this really relates to what we're talking about, but it's kind of it's a weird situation, kind of like in hockey, where goalie coaches will change a goaltender's method of playing. It could be from butterfly to hybrid to butterfly, but they would change the way the goalie plays. Mm-hmm. And I never understood that because it's like, look, if they played a particular way to get them to this level, why would you teach them a completely different method of goaltending? It never made any sense. I still think that
it ruins what they've used to get to this point.
I still think that James Reimer was a victim of that when he was with the Leafs. I think the goaltender's name was.
Dude, I think it's really sad how we went to a Leafs game last week, and we didn't. But it was just so sad. It was so sad seeing James Reimer sit on that bench with his little Panthers hat on, just sitting like this, and just being, I'm like, what happened to you, man? Like,
I was a somebody.
Yeah. Like
I was God.
Your wife was getting death threats when you lost in Game 7. You were somebody, man, and now you're riding pine with your little like last pick in the draft hat. I'm just what, though, James, man? Why?
You know what? He's making a lot of money, not
doing anything.
No, I wouldn't say not doing anything. He's the backup for Florida. Let's be honest. He has some work to do, but he's still making a ton of money, and he has a beautiful place in Florida.
Well, you know what? Let's do last minute of play. And what my question to you, is: would you rather be the starting goalie? Would you rather be a bat? Okay, no, I mean skill level doesn't matter. But would you rather be the starting goalie or would you rather be the backup? Would you rather get I know one over the other, but you look at the kind of players who are starting goaltenders, right? And then you look at the players who are backup goaltenders. Yeah. What makes that backup goaltender who they are? When you think of starting goaltender, Carey Price comes to mind. Yeah, Henrik Lundqvist comes to mind. Martin Jones. These guys, right? And then backup guys, you're thinking James Reimer.
Yeah.
You're thinking Al Montoya.
I was going to say Montoya. Yeah.
You're thinking of, what's his face there? The guy that used to play with Winnipeg that's now in New York. What's his name?
Him.
Pavlik.
Yeah.
You think of those guys.
Yeah.
Just kind of just average guys.
Yeah.
And it's just what like I feel like it'd almost be like a slap in the face to be a backup goalie because it's just like I want to prove my worth.
Well, it's also
but you know your place.
But there are also relief pitchers in baseball too, right? Like you have that as well with your baseball analogy. So
no, that's true.
Again, it's like can a relief pitcher become a starter eventually if they're good enough?
If they want to.
There you go,
can,
right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a dugout thing. Now, there's a lot of goaltenders that were backups that were good enough to become starting goaltenders, like Antti Ranta,
Corey Schneider,
Talbot, Corey Schneider. You know, so you have that, but then as you get older, you regress and you become Ryan Miller,
or I mean, I hate to say it, Luongo a little
bit. Well, yeah, or
Luongo, like Luongo 2012 was scary when he was in Vancouver after they lost in the Stanley Cup final. Now it's just kind of like, oh, it's Luongo. But like before, he was good, man.
He was amazing in his prime. So
you do see a little bit of slowing down, but no. But I guess the question
Martin
is,
Biron was one of those too. He didn't. He was a backup for a while.
Yeah, for Buffalo.
Yeah, in New York. Well, he was a starter in Buffalo, and then he became a backup. Well, then he went to Philly, and then he became a backup in New York.
But yeah, no. But I know you, as a lead actor, would probably take the starting goaltender role. But it's just
because you know what, backup goaltenders are more expendable. I mean.
But I just think it's fascinating how someone would join the league expecting it's like I want to be a backup goaltender. Like, do you think these guys go in hoping to be the starter and then they just end up in a relief situation?
I mean, you probably it depends. I mean, not every team is set on a starting goaltender. But if you're Montreal and you're Charlie Lindgren,
good luck.
Yeah, it's like, well, what's going to happen, right?
Or if you're Curtis McElhinney, it's just like, well. You might play 15 games a season, but whatever Frederick Anderson they think I might off.
But you know what? They do also have to prove themselves, which is why you have Cam Talbot, which is why you have Corey Schneider. I think Corey Schneider is one of the better goaltenders in the league.
Yeah, very
Martin
underrated.
Jones was a backup to Jonathan Quick. He's now in San Jose doing all kinds of good stuff. Mm-hmm. So it's none of these goaltenders. I mean, these goaltenders know what the situation. My brother was a goaltender, so they know the situation going in.
They know what to expect. They know. Yeah.
Like they know if they can if the number one job is attainable. Obviously, though, if you have Henrik Lundqvist or Carey Price or those kinds of guys,
or Fleury or Matt Murray, even it's just like you understand that you're going in as a backup when you're
now. A more interesting question would have been: would you like to have been?
Fuck you.
We're going way off over time, but I just want to get this in here. Would you rather be a backup goaltender for the NHL or a starting goaltender for an AHL team for your development?
Probably the latter.
Yeah, I would say that. If it's development?
Yeah, if I was going to get better.
I mean, Max Pacioretty, he didn't go anywhere either. Interesting.
The saga continues.
Max Pacioretty, he had the opportunity way earlier to be
his name was thrown out a little bit for.
Well, LA was kicking tires, and then that didn't happen. Max Pacioretty, when he was kind of starting out with the Habs, they gave him the opportunity. They gave him the choice. You can be on our fourth line, or you can do some more time in the AHL till you develop, and then you can be a second or first line pairing. And he went the latter. He was like, no, I'm going to stay in Hamilton. Well, back then they were in Hamilton anyway. So he was like, I'm going to stay in Hamilton because I really think I can be a first line or second line.
NHL he wanted to be.
And he was. And this year, he's not. He's getting booed, and he's the captain.
Do you think that's a good thing?
No, absolutely not. I think Montreal fans are frustrated. Hockey is part of their religion there. You think it's crazy in Toronto.
No, Montreal.
Think about Montreal. It's worse. And you have it in two languages. So... yeah, they're frustrated, and obviously Pacioretty hasn't really lived up to. I mean, none of them really have played that well this year, but Pacioretty is the focal point because he is the captain, and he is used to scoring 35 to 40 goals a year, and he's nowhere near that. So
he's under the microscope more often now, like you're saying, especially being the captain.
Yeah, and it's only going to get worse because there's no Price, there's no Weber. Yeah. It's done.
Call it a season.
You don't have to
come back next year. Yeah, try and get him back in the off season. Maybe
just. Tank like you never have before, man. Maybe you might get a top 3 pick. Maybe.
Well, Buffalo might be falling for Dolan too, man.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. Top 3.
Yeah.
I think honestly, it's Arizona, Buffalo, and in the trajectory that Montreal's going, maybe Montreal might be joining them, and Ottawa. So it's Montreal's
weird, man. You go from drafting Galchenyuk, getting a top 3 pick, and then you make and then you're in the playoffs for years, and then you suck, and then you're really good, and then you're like, it's interesting. It's just it fluctuates so easily. It
fluctuates, yes, absolutely. I mean,
do you think that Julian? I know we're rambling here, but do you think Julian's going to be around in Montreal for like the next foreseeable future?
Look, if Therrien was able to stay as long as he had in this regime with the Habs, Julian's not going anywhere. Julian was a winner.
What about Bergevin?
I know the fans are calling for his head. I used to always believe that Bergevin was a great GM, although that Drouin trade did, even I had to be like, yeah, that was not a good trade.
How is he playing for Montreal?
Not good. Let's just say I think Sergachev has more goals and he's a defenseman. Like it's that bad. So, I think Bergevin stays. Just because, you can always chalk this up to, oh, you know what, it was an off year. Let's reset our batteries, go back to
Montreal. Yeah, because knowing Montreal, they're going to do well next year because that's just their pattern, right? But
if Montreal has another season like they had this year, I would consider him gone. Mm-hmm. Because on the other hand, too, is who do you hire in his place? That also speaks French because of the French thing. So...
yeah, I guess
I say he probably would go at the end of next year
if he were to. Yeah,
which I don't see them doing well because, quite frankly, they don't have much in the pipeline.
Yeah, no, and there's lots. It'll be interesting to see how. Man, it's interesting how it does change so quickly. Like 1 year in hockey is a lifetime.
Well, the Rangers were always in the playoffs, and now they're they were doing pretty well earlier this year, and then they went.
But I think back to
St. Louis too. Sorry,
I think back to like the lockout shortened season, and when I was where I was in my point of my life at that point, and that feels like that was yesterday. And now, but then I look back to the teams that were in the league at that point. I'm like, oh my god, that was forever ago for these guys. It's just interesting how hockey years is just within a couple of years you're thinking man. It's a lifetime for some people, It's interesting. Yeah. But anyway.
We went completely over our half-hour limit. We apologize. There was just a lot that we wanted to talk about.
Lots to talk. I'm not even going to say it because it's fucking cliche at this point. Lots to talk on mock. But keep an eye out for that shit. But, yeah, no. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.
If you want to see more hats.
Yeah. Go back to the first episode. Yeah. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you around. Take care. See you. Bye. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.